Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. So, if you're worried about the end of the world as we know it, you might be looking for something that you can trade with at the post SHTF Mad Max Barter Town. And if that's the case, you might be interested in stacking some fractional gold and silver bullion. Or, possibly you don't take it quite that far, but you're worried about inflation and economic crisis and you'd like to get your hands on some hard assets. Well, these days, a 1 ounce silver round, that's still pretty attainable for most of us, priced somewhere between $25 to $30 these days. But what about gold? Look at a 1 ounce gold coin. That's going to run over $2,000 in most cases. And that might seem a bit steep to some of you watching. I know it does to me. And in that case, fractional gold bullion products, they can put stacking physical gold within reach, make it a lot more attainable. And that's what we're going to get into in today's video. I'm going to give you my top picks for fractional gold and silver bullion products. Although the emphasis today, I will tell you, is going to be on gold. We will touch briefly on silver. We're going to talk about how much you can expect to pay for the various products, because that is certainly a very important consideration when stacking fractional gold and also silver bullion. And then how these things might function as a means of exchange at some future time. And some of them actually are being used currently as a means of exchange. So we're going to talk about all of that in today's video, so stick around. And if you enjoy today's video and you get some value from it, please do give it a big thumbs up down below, subscribe to the channel, and also make sure you check out our channel sponsors like silverbotanicals.com with their line of household and personal hygiene products that are powered by nano silver. You can check them out with the link down in the description. And don't forget to use coupon code STACKER to save 10% on your Silver Botanicals order. Okay, so I have a variety of fractional gold and silver bullion products out here in front of us. We're just going to go through each one. Now, keep in mind that this video is not meant to be an exhaustive overview of all the fractional bullion products that are out there. That would take a long time because there's a lot of them. These are really just kind of my top picks, the things that I like to focus on and where I think that, new stackers and really just most stackers in general should focus on when it comes to this type of physical metal. And keep in mind, none of this is financial advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts. And let's kick it off with this Arger Heraeus generic, you could call this generic, gold bar. Now, fractional gold bars like this, something many stackers have probably come across in the past. You've probably seen these. They're in these little assay cards. They are denominated in grams. So if you like the metric system, you might like these. And this one is 10 grams. Now, keep in mind that a troy ounce is equal to 31.1035 grams. So this bar right here in my hand represents just under a third of a troy ounce of gold. Now, let's go over some of the pros of gold bars like this one. The first good thing about these is that the premium is going to be relatively low compared to some of the other products that you come across. And that is going to vary depending on the size of the bar, because these gold bars, they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. But as a general rule, these are going to have decent premiums on them. Now, I picked up this one as part of SD Bullion's Black Friday sale this past Thanksgiving. I actually got it at spot. You're not going to be able to find that kind of pricing all the time, but typically you will have favorable pricing on this. Now, I want to take a look at some of the current prices on these bars just to give you an idea of what these are going for in the marketplace these days. We'll take a look at SD Bullion. They're a channel sponsor too, and they typically have pretty competitive pricing. So right now, a 10-gram bar like that one is going for $665.94. Now, we can divide that by 10 to get the per gram price, $66.59. And then if we multiply that by 31.1035, that gives us our troy ounce price of $2,071 per troy ounce. So that's a pretty good price, especially for something that is less than a half ounce of gold. Now, one general rule with these fractional products across the board, both gold and silver, is that the smaller the product that you get, the higher the premium is going to be. It doesn't always hold true, but most of the time that is the case. And to give you an example of this, just want to show you the price for a 1-gram bar, very similar to this one, over at SD Bullion. And you can see these are going for $81.28. Now, a 1 gram is a very small bar. Keep in mind, you need more than 31 of these to equal a troy ounce. So this is indeed a tiny piece of gold. And if we just multiply that number by 31.1035, you can see that if you buy these 1 gram bars, you're paying $2,528 per troy ounce. So that is fairly steep. And also, just to give you something in the middle to compare that to, they've got the 5 gram version of this bar going for $341.44. And if you run all the math on that, that comes out to $2,123 per troy ounce. Now, the reason I wanted to go over all of those prices is to show you that when you're shopping for fractional gold, a lot of times it may pay off to get the slightly larger product. For example, the 5 gram versus the 1 gram bar there, it's a very significant difference between paying $2,528 per ounce and $2,123 per ounce. So this is definitely something that you need to pay attention to, the premiums and the prices for these smaller bullion products. And also, I would like to point out that with some of these products like the 10 and the 5 gram bar, you can actually, in some cases, get slightly better pricing if you buy them in quantity. But for our purposes, I just want to assume that we're only buying one bar at a time, or one coin. Now, some other pros of these generic gold bars: they're highly available. It's one of the most common types of bullion you'll find. You walk into most coin shops, they're going to have something along these lines. They're available in many sizes and patterns, so something for everybody there. They're very recognizable, and as such, they are extremely liquid. Just about any coin shop you go to is going to be willing to purchase these. There are some caveats to that we're going to get into in the cons, especially if they're from a well-known and reputable mint like Arger Heraeus. There's other big ones, Valcambia is an example, but there's many makers of these bars that will be widely recognized. But let's get into some of the cons. So, being one of the most popular forms of bullion out there and one of the most common forms, these generic bars, there are counterfeits for them. So that is something that we need to be aware of. And also, you see that this comes in this plastic assay card, and that's nice. It's a nice card, keeps the bar in good shape, stops it from getting scratched up. It's got a serial number as well. All of that is very good, but there are still counterfeits. And if you go to sell this thing, it is highly likely that the place that you are selling it to, whether it be an end user or a bullion shop, something along those lines, they may want to cut this thing out of the card, in order to verify its authenticity. And while that's not the end of the world, it's probably not something that you'd prefer to be doing. So just keep that in mind if you're getting these generic bars in an assay card. I have heard of folks needing to cut those out of the case when they go to sell. And then, one other con, this might sound a little silly, but these things are bars. They're not rounds. And I do think that there's some element of human psychology that finds, round things. I know that sounds kind of weird, but, we don't make our money in bars. We make all of the coins in a round form. I think humans do recognize round bullion as money more readily. So that is also, a minor thing, but something to keep in mind. Now, the next form of bullion I want to get into is this gold French coin. So this is a 20 franc gold archangel, and this is a rather old coin. If I can get the camera to focus here, you get a good look at it. And this was minted back in 1895, and this harkens back to a time, the 19th century. There are a lot of gold coins being minted in Europe, and during the 19th century, many European countries, they were on bimetallic standards. By the end of the 19th century and into the early 20th century, basically they were all on a classical gold standard. So there's a ton of these coins available, and even though they are kind of old, a lot of times you'll be able to get these for a very reasonable premium, especially when you compare them to modern bullion coins. So we're going to get into some of the numbers, and you'll see what I am talking about. Also, just to give you some of the numbers on this specific coin here, this is 90% gold. So this is not pure gold. This is designed for circulation. So like a lot of the US old gold and silver coins, it's not completely pure gold. Pure gold's not really well suited to circulation. And this particular coin contains 0.1867 troy ounces of gold. So just under a fifth of a troy ounce of gold. Now, I want to get into the pricing for these to give you an example of, European gold prices, how they're fairly compelling and relatively low premium. SD Bullion doesn't actually have any of the French Archangel 20 franc gold coins for sale at the moment, but But what they do have is these British sovereigns. So the British sovereigns were minted from 1817 onward, and I would put them roughly in the same class as the Archangel. It's just another classical European gold coin. These sovereigns actually are 0.9167 gold. They're not 90%, a little bit higher purity than that. They contain 0.2354 troy ounces of gold. And if you do the math, you're paying about $2,120 an ounce for a British sovereign coin, which is just under a quarter ounce of gold. And that's a pretty good price considering that it is a smaller gold coin, and also that it's, something old. It's a piece of history. Let's talk about the pros for this type of gold. These are old. They are historical coins. A lot of them were minted, so they're not really numismatic. They don't have a lot of collectible appeal to, I'm sure there are some key dates out there, but the ones that we're going to be buying at these low premiums, they just have huge mintages. However, I will say that the low premium on these is a little bit more of a bonus than it is, say, on something like a generic bar, which is continuing to be minted today because, after all, only a certain number of these old coins were minted. I'm sure every year more and more of them get melted. And so, you do have that going for you. You're holding something with a limited supply. And let's get into the cons for them, though, to kind of balance that out. One of the things that you'll notice is that these have some pretty wonky numbers. The gold weight for this coin, for example, 0.1867 troy ounces. How do they arrive at that? Or for a gold sovereign, it's 0.2354 troy ounces. So some wonky weights, some wonky purities. And also, these are very recognizable coins to your average coin dealer. But let's say you do get to some kind of post-SHTF scenario where you're trying to barter or exchange your fractional gold, you might have a little bit of a hard time convincing whoever you're dealing with that this is a genuine article. And there are counterfeits of them out there as well. It's a very common bullion product, so you do have to be aware of that. So you might want to run those through a precious metals analyzer or have some known, good samples to compare your bullion to. And so, they are nice because they are small and they're relatively low premium, but the fact that there's so many of them out there, and there are a lot of European gold coins because of that classical gold standard, it can just be kind of hard to familiarize yourself with all of them. So, they lose some points for perhaps their recognizability or their ability to, function as a unit of exchange. But let's move on to modern bullion coins in the fractional gold department. We have this 1/10 ounce gold eagle here. Now, the gold eagle coin, that is the official U.S. gold bullion coin, the gold standard, so to speak, no pun intended. And in addition to being available in the 1/10 ounce size, you can also get these coins in the 1 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and 1/4 ounce size. Now, the pros of these are that they are very widely recognizable. They're U.S. legal tender. They are the official gold bullion coin of the United States. But the cons are that the premiums on these things are pretty steep, especially when you get down to the 1/10 ounce gold coin size. So if we take a look at SD Bullion currently, you can see that one of those 1/10 ounce gold eagles, it's going for just over $299. And all you got to do is multiply that by 10 to get your troy ounce price. And so you can see you're paying almost $3,000 an ounce if you are stacking these 1/10 ounce gold eagles. So to me, at that type of a premium, they're not really worth it. I mean, gold is gold after all. There's really nothing to set this apart from other coins like the French Rooster or French Archangel, except for the fact that these are 0.999% pure. They are a bullion coin. They're not really designed for circulation, so you might view that as a benefit. But to me, the premiums on those things are just a bit high. Now, you can keep an eye out for sales on these. Every now and then you'll find a good price on fractional eagles. They are out there. Right now, the premiums are kind of particularly high because the mint is struggling to keep up with demand, which has driven premiums up. But again, at today's prices, I'm not stacking these. They're not the type of fractional gold that I'm really looking to get my hands on at this moment at that type of a price. Now, the final fractional gold bullion that we're going to get into today is these Goldback notes. These are pretty interesting. These have really taken fractional gold to an all new level. And I've got a 1 Goldback note here. I've also got a 50 Goldback note. You'll notice that these are both labeled as Wyoming Goldbacks. Now, Goldbacks is operating in 4 states right now. They're in Utah, Nevada, New Hampshire, and then most recently, Wyoming. And these things are actually designed to function as an alternative hard money currency. And they are fractional. Keep in mind that even this big note here, it's got 1/20th of an ounce of 24 karat gold. It's half the weight of this little tiny coin. So very interesting the way they make these things. They atomically layer the gold onto a polymer surface and then kind of sandwich it in there. It's very minutely weighed. I was told in an interview that I did with the Goldback CEO a couple weeks ago, you can check that out if you're interested. He was telling us that, they do tend to go a little bit overweight on these things, maybe like, a couple percentage points, just because they want to make sure that you always get at least what is stated on the face there in terms of the gold weight. And also, very interestingly, he pointed out to me that there's more businesses in Utah right now that accept Goldbacks than accept Bitcoin. So Goldbacks are actually already functioning as a circulating hard money currency in those states that have them. And I do find that to be a pretty interesting thing. Now, as far as the pros, there's a lot of them for the Goldbacks. The first big one is that, as far as counterfeits go, I've never seen a counterfeit Goldback. They may be out there, but I think that they would be very easy to spot because the way these things are made, I don't know that anybody out there can really replicate it. Like I said, it's gold that is being atomically layered in a vacuum onto this polymer material. You can see it's got the reverse image on the back. That's just one of many security features. They're also serialized. They've got this kind of intricate patterns on them that serve as a security feature. So I do think that these are more immune to counterfeiting than any of the other bullion products you're looking at here. So that's definitely a feather in their cap. Lots of things, they are interchangeable. So 50 Goldback note like this one has 50 times the weight as a 1 Goldback note. So very easy to do the math for these. A basic 1 Goldback note is 1/1000th of a troy ounce. So again, we're operating on, very easy numbers here, very easy to do the math with Goldback. So I think that does make them favorable as a unit of exchange. And really the big con is the premium. Now, I mentioned earlier that as far as premiums on fractional products go, typically the rule is that the more fractional, the smaller the bullion product, the higher the premium goes. That does hold true with Goldbacks. Right now, if we take a look on Alpine Gold Exchange, which they have the best prices on the 1 Goldback notes, and those are my favorite ones to stack because I think they have the most utility, being the smallest form of gold. They're selling for about $3.82 right now, and if you do the math on that, you just multiply that by 1,000, you can see that when you buy a 1 Goldback note, you're paying about $3,820 per troy ounce. So it's a much steeper premium than any of the other bullion products you're looking at here. However, it does kind of make sense with that rule that the smaller the bullion goes, the higher the premium, and certainly 1/1000th of a troy ounce, very small. I will say this about the premiums. The one nice thing about them is that even if you buy a 1 Goldback note for $3.82, with the way the market is right now, you can go right back into the market and sell it for that much. So you're not losing your premium in terms of resale of these. It's not like, if you buy a fractional 1/10 ounce gold eagle at your local coin shop for $300 and you go in and they want to pay you spot for it. It's not really how it works with Goldbacks, but still you are getting less metal for your money with those. So it's just something to keep in mind. However, these actually do take my top pick for the scenario of a Mad Max post SHTF world where you need something to trade with. I would say that Mercury Dimes, Junk Silver is a close second. But again, the reason that I like the Goldbacks so much is that it's just very easy to verify their authenticity. And I think that in a post-SHTF Mad Max world, verifying the authenticity of metals could become a real problem. I mean, there is a lot of counterfeit stuff out there. Just look on Alibaba or Wish.com. You can see that just about any popular gold or silver bullion coin, there are counterfeits. Even if they're, crude counterfeits, it could be a problem. And I think with the Goldbacks, that's really just not that big of a problem. So I view that as a huge advantage there. I do have a link down below for Alpine Gold Exchange. If anybody would like to pick up some Goldbacks, they can use that. They pretty much have the best pricing on the small Goldback notes, although SD Bullion does have really good pricing on the larger notes, so you can check those out as well. The link is an affiliate link, so if you use it, it does help support the channel at no additional cost to yourself, so thank you in advance if you choose to do so. But that's pretty much it for fractional gold. I do want to touch briefly on silver here. After all, I'm a smart silver stacker, and the thing about silver is, when it comes to fractional bullion, is that I think that 1 ounce is already a pretty good size for trade. I mean, the way that silver prices are today relative to gold, 1 ounce of silver is not a bad size for a possible exchange or trade or anything like that. Even if you just want to go to sell it, 1 ounce is probably a good increment to do that in. But let's say that the gold to silver ratio changes. Let's say we go back to the historical 15-to-1 ratio. Well, now a 1 ounce silver round or silver coin might be a little too valuable for your day-to-day purchases. And in that case, if you're looking for fractional silver, I do think that it's a much easier list of products to choose from than in gold. I mean, I just go with junk silver, whether it be junk silver dimes like this, mercury dimes, constitutional silver. I know some people don't like the term junk, whatever. I don't think it's too pejorative. It's just a term that's been around in the community for a long time. But half dollars, quarters, and specifically dimes, I think, are the best form of fractional silver to be stacking. Now, the premiums on junk silver have gone up a lot as of late, but still, they're comparable to any other form of fractional bullion that you're going to find, whether it be a half ounce silver round or a 1/10 ounce silver round. The premiums on those are usually pretty steep. And in the case of silver, I just prefer junk silver because, they're not making it anymore. It's a fixed supply. It's a piece of history. And I think it's just a very easy choice when you're looking for fractional silver. That's the way to go, is 90% US dimes, quarters, and half dollars, the ones that were minted 1964 and earlier. And if you want to know more about junk silver, there's plenty of videos on the channel where I go into that in depth. But suffice to say, you don't need to scrutinize fractional silver too hard, I don't think. Junk silver is the obvious choice there. So that's pretty much it for all of the fractional bullion products I wanted to go over today. Will it come down to trading with this stuff, with hard money, post SHTF? Who knows? I view that as kind of a low probability event. But the way that the world is going, the likelihood does seem to be growing and not shrinking. And so I think it makes sense to have some of these products in your stack, even if they don't make up the bulk of your gold and silver bullion. And at the very least, these give you a lot more flexibility when it comes time to sell. It's a lot easier to sell a 10-gram bar or in 10-gram increments than, say, in 1 ounce increments when it comes to gold. If all you've got is 1 ounce gold products, then, at minimum, that's what you've got to sell at any given time. So it's a good idea to have a few smaller bullion products. At least that's how I view it. If you found this information helpful, do leave me a comment down below to let me know what you think. I always like to hear from all of you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe and happy stacking, and I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker, out.